All right, there we go. We are live and well, March 12th. Looks like the band is all here. Even though I wasn't. I was here. I was just struggling with Zoom. Zoom often wrestles with me. So, all right, anybody got anything you want me to start off with? I know these calls have been going close to a couple hours. We held last week's down to about an hour. I'm gonna probably try and get them back on that track, so I'm not tying you guys up for the majority of your day. I know when I get on to topics, I can ramble for quite some time. So I
Okay, I
will.
have a question.
All right, go ahead, Gregory.
We known Craig Duswell for at least a decade, if not more.
Yep,
You were at his event last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago.
yep.
All right. Anything new? Just new stuff.
Um,
Just new. Anything. That's it.
Actually, I don't know that I would call it new. He did this event that he put on was really actually good. It was a really action-packed, much better than some of his more recent events. He's kind of fallen back into his main power, which is the whole rock star thing. So he had a couple of different concerts and kind of felt a lot more like the old days. So that was pretty cool. But as far as content, he's not doing a lot of marketing stuff. He's moving more into uh more of the charity stuff, how to make a difference. He's running charity events and all of that, but still providing good value, and definitely as far as the entertainment level on this one was like through the roof compared to what he's had, over the last couple of years.
Mm. Hey,
So,
John,
yeah, go
I,
ahead,
I
Arba.
don't I don't know who you're talking about, but when people start doing charity events and giving and all that, that means they're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
When if somebody's not pushing, marketing or trying to sell stuff, but they're, doing stuff like that, yeah, in my book, that means they're doing good.
well, for many, many years, like over a decade, he ran a thing called Rockstar Marketing. And his big thing, he used to have big events. He'd had like, four or 500 people in a room. And it was high impact. He had rock stars come in and sing and kind of bring lessons from how people market in the rock industry, which when you try and fill a stadium with 1 million people, that takes some marketing. So he teaches, how they were doing that, some of the crazy, offshoot type of tactics that they used to use. And, it was just good stuff over the years. But then the pandemic hit. He had a couple of things against him. The pandemic hit and people stopped doing the in-person events. So that took a big toll on his audience and readership. And then he had his kids all going to school in Texas, so he decided to make a move to Texas, and I think that hurt him as far as his base. He did grow a little bit because of people in Texas and on the East Coast, so he did, bring a few new people into the group, which was great. But I think it really took a dig on his West Coast following because of that. So, and he's coming back to life. He's putting it back together. He's back in California, and it looked really good. I was really excited to see the event that he just put on because it's way more back on track to where he was, what he used to be. And I think because of that, I think he'll grow it back, But he does need to probably start doing stage swaps like he used to. I just don't know if there's enough of that stuff around now after the pandemic that that might be a struggle. So
Um,
he may actually have to lean toward doing what, everybody else does and actually run ads and, build the following that way. So, and he and I
Gotcha.
were very much together on our resistance to do that because we had other tactics. Like for me, I've never leaned on, running ads to grow my base. I've always leaned on affiliate marketing. I will find somebody that has my audience, and I know I've said this a million times, but this is really powerful. If you don't have a big budget and you're going, grassroots from the bottom up trying to get started and you don't want to spend a bunch of money on ads and all that, you can grow a pretty big audience just by finding a handful of people that have your audience and cut deals with them to share the profits. I mean that's what an affiliate relationship is all about. You're paying people to send you customers. And that's a very powerful way to grow. If you think about it, there's a lot of marketers out there that are really good. I mean, I'm not going to lie, there's plenty of marketers out there that are way better than I am at marketing. And pretty much all you have to do to be better than I am at marketing is have some incentive. I'm just very lazy. It doesn't take much. But to do that, if you're a good marketer and you're out there and you're building a list, you probably only have one thing to sell, or maybe two, maybe, two or three things to actually offer for sale. And with that, you're only going to grow so big and you're going to leave a tremendous amount of money on the table because every one of your customers, every one of the relationships that you build along the way, every one of those people needs a lifetime full of products. They need a lifetime full of services. And you're not going to offer all that stuff. You're going to, hopefully, I'm going to encourage you to stay in your lane, offer what you're really good at. Don't overextend yourself. Do what you're really good at, and then connect them to the rest. Super easy to connect people. Where you're missing out is you're not setting up the relationships for the connections. That's where affiliate marketing comes in. Like, find people that have all these other things that your customers need. Reach out to those people and say, hey, I have an audience that's perfect for you. If I send them to you, what can you do for me? And they'll probably say, oh, well, we have an affiliate program. Let me set you up. You send them through, we give you X%, and life is grand. That's called mailbox money. And any of you that are not getting mailbox money, you are missing the boat. I'm telling you right now. I don't think, in fact, I can tell you for sure, it has been a very long time since I woke up on any given day and didn't have mailbox money come in. That's just free money. Like every day I wake up and somebody pays me for something. I might have done something to get that 10 years ago and it's still paying me. So it's a lifetime full of that. If you haven't done it, the best time to start is like right now. Because every day you don't do that, it's another day you're not getting mailbox money. And I use the example of the woman that sells maternity dresses. And this was a real customer of mine. This is probably 15, 20 years ago. This woman came to me and her product was maternity dresses. And I apologize if you guys have heard this a dozen times. I'm going to tell it again. But she came to me and she wanted to set up. She was like, "How do I sell enough of these to survive?" She goes, "I'm a stay-at-home mom, uh, and I need to survive. I need to put clothes on my kids. I need to keep them fed and keep the roof over their head." And that was her issue. And when I looked at what she was selling and how much profit there was in each dress, and what her exposure to the market was, like how many of these could she actually sell? And when I started answering those questions, I came up with the grim reality of this is not gonna work. You're gonna have to spend so much advertising to sell enough of these dresses. You're never gonna sell enough to take care of your family. I mean, that was a grim reality that I had to bring to her. And right when I was just about ready to bring that to her, the light bulb went off. And it occurred to me that there is hope. We can turn this thing around. We can make this profitable for her. And the way we did it, and she about freaked out when I gave her my plan. I said, here's the deal. You don't have to make money on the dress. We can give the dresses away for free. And she about flipped out. She's like, what are you talking about? I have to feed my kids. I can't give these away. And I said, look, you're investing in customers, business. And I gave her a lesson in business. I said, business is about investing. What you're investing in is you're investing in customers. You have to look at what is the value of the lifetime value of that customer. Marketers refer to that as an LTV, lifetime value. And if the value of the customer is just the dress, you're screwed. That's it. If you're just selling the dress, maybe a couple of dresses, you have a customer that the window of opportunity is about 3 months for you to sell a maternity dress. And then that's no longer your customer unless she gets pregnant again. So that's really shitty circumstances to deal with. But here's what I told her. I said, look, when you acquire a customer, you're going to sell her the dress, and that's it. That's the end of your show. But that show is going to go on for 18 years. And the reality is it's probably going to go on forever. But 18 years minimum, you specialize in maternity dresses. So I'm assuming you know something about being a mother. You are way ahead of everyone that's going to buy this dress in your knowledge about being a mother. How many products, like any of you guys that are a mother or a father, even fathers generally pay for this shit, so they know what goes into it. How much money is spent after that kid comes out? In the next 18 years, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars spent over that 18-year period. Now, you don't have to provide all that stuff, but if you build the relationships with the people that do provide it and you just get like, let's say 10%. Let's use the math of a minimum amount. Minimum amount. You're going to get 10% on the sales of all that product, right? It's going to cost you probably $100 to $200 to acquire the customer, right? To sell a dress that maybe isn't worth that much. So you might go in the hole right out of the gate. So your investment in the customer is, let's say, $200 to acquire that customer. Now, over the next 18 years, that customer is going to be worth $10,000. Is it worth you putting $200 up today to collect $10,000 over the next 18 years? That's a pretty damn good return. I don't know of a lot of traditional investments that would do that. Usually they're if you're getting 10% on a good investment, it's doubling about every 7 years, right? So 200 doubled in 7 years is 400, doubled in 14 years is $800. That's the traditional market, right? So would you rather put your money into that market and get $800 on a $200 investment over 14 years? Or would you rather put the same $200 into business to acquire a customer and pull in $10,000 over the next 18 years? The math for me is pretty simple. So she actually took that to heart and she went out and she started creating relationships with all these people and she started getting mailbox money. Well, I haven't talked to her in years, but I don't think she's still making maternity dresses. She's basically investing in prospects to sell them that 18-year funnel. She probably just pushes them to somebody else's maternity dress now on the front end. So you need to start thinking about this in terms of customer acquisition and then in terms of relationships. What is that customer going to want the rest of their life? And in the ACT program, we talk about the timeline. The timeline is a very, very important lesson in the ACT program because it looks at where the person is, your ideal customer, where they are right now today. That's their timeline of where they are. And your product hopefully delivers them a desired outcome that takes them to the end of that current timeline, right? They're in the state of they don't have what they want. You take them to the state where they do have what they want. Now that timeline's complete. Well, guess what? As soon as that timeline completes, a new timeline starts. So your new job, you're going to have a new hat in your business that you're going to put on and wear from today forward. Your job is to figure out what are they going to need next and who provides that and who will pay me the most to send them customers, right? And then do the same thing, rinse and repeat. That timeline completes. What do they need next? Just look forward to the rest of their life and build those relationships. And that mailbox money is going to start coming in. It's not going to happen overnight. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a way to look at life. Every day you walk through the world, you should be looking for these opportunities. Look for the timelines, look for the people that provide the products that deliver on those timelines and build those relationships. Every day you do that, you'll be enriching the rest of your life. Guaranteed, if you spend an hour a day setting up one of those relationships that's going to pay you for the rest of your life, that is freedom money. That's time well spent. So, Arba, go ahead. See there, I went off on a rant again and I burned up 20 minutes already.
Well, I want to propose something that gives you another rant to go off on. And this is the tale of two clients. And I just wanted to put this out there so maybe others can learn from this and you can chime in on it or give more information on it. Anyway, so I have two website clients and one I'll give the good one first and then the bad one second.
Okay.
So one was doing quite well on eBay, selling his products on eBay, but he came to me because he didn't like eBay's fees, right? So he
Uh-huh.
comes to me because he's like, I want to build an e-commerce website. I don't want to use eBay. And I explained to him that's where you're getting your business from because eBay is doing all the marketing and getting you the clients. So that's why you're paying the fees. Well, he didn't care. He went ahead and wanted to build his e-commerce site. Well, this guy really, really worked it where he was for his own website. And I mean, we're talking thousands, like more than any of my other clients. He really built it, but I mean, all his hair gone, kind of stuff. But he did it where he built his e-commerce site and was making more money because he kept keeping me in letting me know even though I could go in the back office and see, but he was making money, right? But he put a lot of work into it. Then he kept bugging me, asking me about who did I know that could do all this work that he was doing, but he didn't want to pay him for it, blah, 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 right? So that's the one guy. My second client was doing really well on YouTube because his whole business was videos. So he had built up a big YouTube following and was getting paid by YouTube and he was all excited. But again, he was like, I don't want to give YouTube my money. YouTube, no, he wanted all the money rather. I want all the money. And I told him, You got to put in the work. If you're not going to do the marketing that YouTube is doing, you're not going to make the work, not going to make the money. So this guy wanted to do nothing. He wanted me to do everything, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing all that marketing and whatever, to do that. So my question or my discussion, to this, what do you think about in those two scenarios where there's a mindset there, and when would you break off from it? The one guy with the eBay, like I said, he was making money with eBay, but he wanted all the money, but he had to put in all the work. And then the other guy who was making money on YouTube, and he wanted all the money, but he didn't want to do all the work.
Well, that is absolutely a mindset issue, 100%. I mean, business, you've probably heard the cliche, it takes money to make money. If you're not willing to spend money, you're not going to grow, most likely, unless you put in more time of your own, and
But these two guys, they weren't paying. That's the thing. The guy wasn't, well, they weren't pay. He wasn't paying eBay, but eBay was taking part of his profit. And the same thing with
yeah.
YouTube. He's not paying YouTube, but it's
Well,
getting some of the profit.
it's the same thing.
Uh,
He's paying them one way or another. That's paying them. But like when you can tap into something, and I look at this like with my affiliates. This is a perfect example of my affiliates. I pay my affiliates really well. I generally give them at least 50% on the front end. And the way I look at that is if I would have done it myself, I could have had 100% of that money. But I would have had to do something that I don't want to do, right? If an affiliate like let's say Jim pops up today and he sends me a customer and I give him 50% of the money that customer gave me. Jim just put 50% of that money in my pocket that wasn't there yesterday. You know, am I going to piss and moan about giving him half of it? No, I'm going to say, "Hey, let's do this again tomorrow." Or let's figure out how we can do this a couple of times a day. It's like if you could put a nickel in a slot machine and get a quarterback, how many times would you be willing to pull the bar? Right? For those of you that remember what that's like to go in a casino and actually pull the bar and have change drop out the bottom. I don't think it works that way anymore, but you get the point, right? I'll tell you guys a really funny story. This was my neighbor. My neighbor came over and he said, "Hey," he goes, I'd love to have you mentor my son. His son had only seen his leadership and he worked and he wanted his son to be exposed to business. So he said, "Would you be willing to mentor my son?" I said, "Absolutely. Send him over. I'll have a chat with him." So we sat down and I asked him, I said, "What do you like? What interests you and all that?" And it was the funniest thing. Only thing this kid was interested in was porn. And I'm like, not video games, whatever, it's porn. And I'm like, "Well, do you want to make money with that? Would you be okay with that?" And he's like, "Oh, hell yeah." So I didn't know anything at the time about that particular business because I hadn't dabbled in it yet, other than for entertainment purposes only. But I said, "Hey, there's a convention in Las Vegas. Let's go and let's like see the landscape." So I took this kid to Vegas and we went to the porn show. And all we were looking for was the relationships. Like this market services a massive amount of people. I'm looking at what are they buying and who's providing it and how much will they pay for sales. That was my goal. And holy shit, it was a mountain of money we found. We found the common path of what everybody wanted. We found the providers. I put up a website for the kid real quick, and it was all just affiliate links. It was just all the cool shit that was being provided to that market, all affiliate links. He produced nothing. He, I mean, it was the simplest thing ever. In an afternoon, we had a full business providing product to this marketplace. Didn't have to do a thing, didn't have to create a thing, didn't nothing. We don't have to package, we don't have to ship. We just put up a website. We started doing a little SEO, and I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to test market this with paid click ads. So we set up ads and we started paying for clicks. And I had it to where $5 worth of ad spend, and he was bringing back almost $100 in revenue because these people know that, like, they understand, this industry understands lifetime value. They're willing to pay almost 100% on the front end just to bring them a customer because they know how much it's going to be worth for them lifetime value. So anyway, he's got now a money printing machine that literally he puts a $5 bill in and a $100 bill shits out the back end of it. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I just set this kid up for life. You know, he's gonna be driving a Ferrari next week. And I sent him out, left him on his own, and a month went by and I said, all right, let's get together and kind of review what you're doing. And he had scaled it up. You know, the $5 actually scaled. So he starts putting more money in, more money in, and he's making money, right? I was a little jealous. I'm like, shit, I should have done this myself. But I left him alone now for, I don't know, a few months, like probably 4, 5, 6 months. I didn't hear from him. And I'm thinking, kid's probably in the basement just printing money like it's going out of style. But I see him in the backyard and I call to him over the fence. I say, hey, how's it going? I said, how's the business going? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I stopped it. And I'm like, you what? Like, did the marketing stop working? You know, you should have come over and told me. We could have adjusted the ads or whatever. And he's like, no, no. He goes, it still worked. He goes, and I said, well, why would you stop? And you're gonna love this. He didn't want to pay the credit card bill. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I just wanted to bitch slap him. You, I mean, talk about a mindset issue. He's putting out $5, making 100, and he doesn't want to pay the credit card bill. Like, I don't even know a world where that even is a reality.
His world.
And I'm like, oh my God, that, and that really made me understand there really is a lot of people that are not made for business. They just don't have what it takes. I mean, honestly, if I handed you a money printing machine where you put five in and you got 100 out, would you come back in 6 months and say, yeah, I stopped doing that because I didn't like paying the credit card bill? That's just beyond my capability of understanding. I can wrap my head around a lot. I cannot get around that. So I could have understood if he came back and he said, "Hey, I'm having some conscience issues. I'm not proud to, talk about what I do at the dinner table, whatever." I could get that. But what I heard, I couldn't get my head around it. And had he come back with an ethical issue or any issue, had he come back to me with any legitimate issue, we could have solved it easy. Because if it was an ethical issue, what I taught him there scaled across a multitude of industries. And it's the same thing I'm talking about to you guys right now. The easiest way for you to grow your business is find people that want to do marketing. Find people that have already done marketing to your customers and go create a relationship with them. Offer to pay them. Just like he was paying the ad platform for the clicks that he was making money with. You've got to spend money to make money. It doesn't happen any other way. If you think you're going to do it on your own It's going to take a lot of your time. And if you think your time is not money, that's even a worse issue for me. The idea of you not valuing your time in all of this, that is just pure lunacy. Because when you talk about freedom, it's time and money. If you're making all the money but you have no time, that's not freedom. That's not what we're hunting here. You should not be concerned with how can I work really hard, not pay anybody to do anything so I can keep it all. That should not be your focus. Your focus should be how can I pay everyone to do everything so I don't have to do anything and I still make money. That should be your focus. So, Richard, go ahead.
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I'm kind of dating myself here. I have a real question. This whole mindset thing. Um, I'm 75 and I did my first successful business when I was 10 years old. So I have a little bit of background into what it takes to run a business and how to do business and stuff. And the business of business has nothing to do with business. It's 100% mindset. Because even if you've somehow managed to figure out how to have somebody give you money for a product, you'll never get big until you grow yourself to be big enough to be the person that can handle the business that you're trying to grow. It's all personal growth and self-improvement, and most people just can't do it. I mean, the credit card bill and all that sort of stuff, they're just examples of he just didn't grow himself. He didn't understand. His brain just doesn't work. And that's the hardest part about business is figuring out how to grow yourself, because the guy that can grow a business from 5,000 a month to 10,000 a month is different from 10 to 50, is different from 50 to 100. Every level, you got to up level yourself before your business will ever up level. And that's the thing that most people don't ever get their heads around correctly. So I'll get off my little soapbox at this moment, but that's really what business is all about.
Yeah.
It's a self-improvement journey. That's what
Yeah.
it's all about.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I know Matt Brawning, who I learned a lot of my baseline NLP from. He talked about a thing called a financial thermostat. He said most people are pre-programmed with a financial thermostat, and it happened when they were kids. They were pre-programmed as they were growing up and learning life that, money is evil. So as soon as they start making too much money, they sabotage themselves so they make less money and remain at that thermostat level where they're comfortable. So unless you can adjust the thermostat and you can be comfortable at a higher level, you will never achieve that higher level. Then you're right, that is pure mindset, 100%.
Yeah, a question came up for me that I need to ask you about the AI optimization tool and that whole product and Optimancer and all that. Um, about how many websites has that been tested on up to this point currently? About how many different websites have actually had it put on, or had it been running and had some decent success with it? Do you know that number or approximation?
We can actually get that number tomorrow. I'm going to do a training tomorrow, and Chris is going to be on there. I just got confirmation this morning from him, so I'm going to put an email out today for that. So we're going to have an open training, and Chris and I both will be on there. And he's got access to all the back end, so he'd be able to tell us, how many sites it's been run on and all that stuff. I don't know that we're going to have any kind of formalized reporting to say like, how it's doing or anything like that, but we will be able to tell you how many it's run on.
Yeah, well, the second thing that you brought up is because I came across a video in my research, and the EU passed a law that came into effect in August, and different parts come into effect every August for this year and for next year regarding AI disclosure, and it's brutal. And while it isn't in the United States just yet, I'll bet any money on anybody that it will get here eventually, sooner or later. You're going to have to document a whole lot of stuff regarding AI and all that sort of stuff. I put the link to the act in the chat. because you probably want to go there. They have some condensed versions that'll tell you about what's coming and all that stuff. And yes, it's only in Europe right now, but dollars to donuts, it'll be here sooner or later. The US is going to be pressured into it. And if you have any clients that are overseas, you already have compliance things that you have to be meeting right now.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like the GDPR thing that came out in Europe, some years back, and is it's still around. It's still, somewhat in play, but it's not like the big killer that everyone thought it was going to be. It kind of fizzled out a little bit. And I'm sure this will probably be the same. It'll have a big explosion. It'll scare the shit out of everybody, and products will be sold to offset it, and what have you. And by the way, that's mostly marketing. The whole ADA compliancy thing. They put out posts, and people get the idea of, oh my God, my site's not ADA compliant, I'm going to get sued. There's some truth and reality to that. Yeah, that could happen, but what are the odds? But for marketing, it's great because you can turn around and you can show those articles to all your customers that you built websites for, and you can say, hey, we can make you ADA compliant for a small amount of money. Boom, done. Now you just made money. So there's money making opportunities are just spawned out of fear. Anytime where you can see fear in a marketplace, that you look for the opportunity. It's sitting right there. It's in plain sight. So whatever the stuff is coming out about AI, guaranteed one of the marketers, maybe the one you're looking at right now, is going to come out with a product to solve that pain. And and a lot of them will make it white labelable for you. So you can white label it, brand it, sell it as your own product. So,
well, my feeling is always that forewarned is forearmed. The information's there for those who care to look at it. I agree with everything you're saying. As a matter of fact, I just came across an interesting thing, a guy that sells the ADA stuff, and I've always, I sort of was kind of shrugging my shoulders at it. But then he showed me a federal document that a business can get up to a $5,000 rebate if they put the ADA widget on their website. I didn't know that there was a submission form that you can file and get that rebate. And he uses that as part of his sales tool for the ADA widget. I thought that's a
yeah,
pretty good thing. So, I mean,
you
yeah,
know,
so this is all about
that's
record keeping compliance and all that sort of stuff. So, but it's there, it's real, and it's happening. So,
that's awesome. So let me just give you an example of how fast my mind works on this shit. What Richard just said, I could go out and I could market that, and usually I'll sell ADA compliancy for $99 a year, right? That's my standard price. I put a widget on your site, 99 bucks a year. But with that piece of information, I could go out and I could say, "Hey, I'm going to I'm going to I'm going to give you an opportunity to get $5,000 of free money for the government. We're going to split it, and I'm going to do all the work." So now they're paying me $2,500 to do the work. I'm sending them to the form. They're going to fill out the form, and it's on them now to get the 5 grand. They've already paid me the 2,500 to do the work and show them how to do it. So that is like on the fly, product built, big idea made, done deal. That would sell like hotcakes. Who's not going to want a free $2,500?
he uses to upsell into other AI services and treats it as a credit towards some of the AI services he's upselling. And he's doing, five,
Yeah.
$10,000 a month worth of AI searches stuff, stuff per client, that sort of stuff. So yeah, a
Yeah.
$5,000 boost is really, really good. I like your idea too.
Yeah. I mean, same thing. If you want the whole 5 grand, you don't want to share it with them, just do what you just said. Say, hey, I'm going to get you a $5,000 marketing budget that you can spend with me. That with that one though, you probably have to let them get the 5 grand first. With mine, I'm getting the 2,500 up front, and then whether he does or not, it's on him. So, all right, TK, go ahead.
Hello, John. How are you?
Good.
I was hoping to be out there last week, but smart decision was to stay with somebody who did need some help, medical issues and stuff. In fact, we're heading to one right now. So I wanted to follow on this topic and the conversation you and I had in California. Um, my business isn't necessarily working with one person. The most of the work that I've gotten as an entrepreneur has been more through somebody who says, I need you for my group or this department or the company. And in fact, since you and I spoke, I was working with somebody, he has a small business, maybe about 60 people, and he said, "Oh, I want to hire you for this one department." So I'd love to talk through your concept that you were talking earlier with this building that relationship and then finding people that you can put into that funnel to get affiliate marketing off of that, because I sell a service and I know there's products in there somewhere that are connected, but I'd love to hear your
Yeah,
logic
yeah.
on how that
So,
goes through.
so if I recall, and I apologize if I don't recall all the details, because
Mhm.
the ideas like what I shared with you come a mile a minute at me, and I throw them out for people to grab them, but I don't store them, so I'm not going to remember all the details. But I think I've got the gist of it. I think what I saw with you is you were marketing to the wrong person. You were marketing
On the
to the
video, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And the
you were
business I get is yeah through the leaders. The whole thing just for everybody is so I'm a lifelong geek, nerd, mathematician, who was at risk of losing a job because I couldn't brief to the customer, the Air Force. And then over years I've learned how to do that, became the risk manager for a nuclear testing facility. And so I now work with people who are obsessively knowledgeable, skilled, whether it's nerdy or not, Swifties or John Limbacher, and I help them communicate outside their core. And it's usually working with groups of people. Occasionally, I do the one-on-ones.
yeah. So she's working with teams inside of bigger organizations, but the people that she's working with, like the product that she's developing and delivering, it isn't the same person that's paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody up the ladder is paying for it. So you don't change your product or your fulfillment or your delivery, but you have to change your marketing. You have to figure out who's paying the bill, and that is your customer. And that's where you build your marketing around that person.
Yeah, and
And
it's good because in looking back at the work that I've gotten, and a lot of it's word of mouth, which is great. Um, as long as that person's in that role or that job or owns that company, I've got a great connection. But if baby boomers are retiring, and one of my great pieces of work, the key champion and the person who said, I don't want anybody but her, me, has retired. So it's like, yeah, I look for that, follow on that connection. If I can get information before they retire, that's great. But I was trying to think about this suite of things and affiliates and what I could do in that area when it's a service like that.
yeah, yeah. So with that type of thing, the first thing again is identifying who is the buyer.
Hmm.
And then once you've identified the buyer, you look at that like just like what I was talking about a little while ago, lifetime value of the buyer. Like that buyer has a problem. And then once that problem is solved, that buyer is going to be onto a new problem that probably doesn't have anything to do with you or what you delivered. So you need to look at, what's on the other side of that. And then also based on that buyer, who else is marketing to that buyer? Other products that doesn't compete with you. That's where your affiliate opportunities are going to lie. And who is marketing to that person as well as you are. So you can reach out to those people because if that person's marketing to yours, you might be like focused just on a one-off, but someone else that's marketing to them might have a whole database of that guy. He might have 50, 100, 1,000 of those guys in his database. If you could tap into that, that would be a gold mine for you. As long as what you're doing isn't competing with what they're doing, like perfect scenario is their product takes the person to the end of the timeline where the new timeline now is the beginning of your timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's the perfect storm. If you can find the marketer or the product provider that leads them up to the point where they need you, that is the ultimate person for you to create a relationship.
Okay, I've just written a list of 3 target areas where I need to go pursue. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Because you can basically tell that person, you create a conversation with them and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I love, that you're getting this outcome for your customer. But the thing is, that's where your dollars end. How would you like me to bring you more money on the back end of that? After you're
Mhm.
done with them, I can take them to the next level and I'll pay you to do that.
Perfect. All
That's
right.
a great conversation to have.
Yeah, John, like as usual, like it's kind of like you. It's like sometimes it's just that conversation and you, like I said, you sparked 3 different areas right there. So exactly what I needed. Thank you. And I
Cool.
may jump off when we need to go, or I'm going to go off camera because I'm wrapping around.
Okay.
This is valuable.
No worries, no worries. I mean, for all of you guys, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you brainstorm. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to get you unstuck wherever you're stuck. And, on many occasions, I'm fairly good at it.
And I just want to add something to that conversation because I do a lot of networking in person and I'm a leader of a lot of networking groups. Learn to talk in those terms of when you're meeting with someone, maybe express, and I'm saying this from personal, and I'll tell you an example. Personally express what you don't like to do anymore that you used to like to do, and then kind of ask the other person, is there anything you no longer like to do? Me and this other marketing strategist, we have been working together, making money together because we networked, and I don't know which one started the conversation or whatever, but I love to do websites. I love to do the technical part, but just leave me alone. Give me what you want. Let me just do it and get it done. Let me just work in my silo. And in the past, I would have to do a whole lot of onboarding with the customer, who's your target audience? How should blah 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 blah. And I hate that part of it. And she loves that. And she used to do websites, but hates doing websites. So, Jack Sprat Jack, whatever, couldn't eat no fat. So we work together, and it's awesome because as soon as somebody comes to me and says they need a website, then I'm like, okay, do you already have your content? Do you know who your target audience is, your market dominating position? And when they look at me like, "Oh," then I say, I got somebody that you can work with. Work with her, get all of that straight, and then come back to me.
Yeah.
So start having so the nugget here is when you're networking, when you're talking to other people, talk about something you don't like to do. And then that other person might say, oh, but I like to do that. And you could build a collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I can tell you about networking is stop pushing yourself on people.
Mhm.
That's the worst thing you can do. Like what that equates to in real life is a dog humping your leg. That's not a good experience, right? You want that shit to stop as soon as possible. So that's what you're doing. As soon as you go to a networking event and you start pushing yourself on somebody, you're a freaking dog and you're humping their leg, right? And they're gonna just want to kick you off. That is all that's going to create. And like I saw an example of this at Craig's event. He was doing a teaching point and I kind of jumped in the middle and saved the person that he was beating up over it. And it was Jill. Jill does like multiple things. She has like 3 different specialties that she does. And because of that, it's a loaded question to say, what do you do? And so Craig had cornered her and he had the mic and he's like, okay, Jill, here's an example. What do you do? And he was trying to show that she didn't have clarity. And he was right. She could not explain what she did because it's convoluted between three different things. So I went over and I said, "Can I help here?" And they handed me the microphone. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna respond for Jill here. Go ahead and ask me what does she do?" So Craig looked at me. He says, "Okay, what do you do?" And I said, "What do you need?" And that takes it immediately from humping their leg to helping them. And it doesn't matter if I do what they need. I'm not there to hump their leg. I'm there to help them. So if I do what they need, then I can turn around and say, "Oh, we have a division of our company that's exactly what we do. I'd love to connect you." Don't try and sell them in the room. Again, you're back to humping their leg. Do the push off. Say, "Hey, we do that. I have a guy I can hook you up with in our company, or we can schedule a meeting and I can go over and I can show you how we help." If that's of interest to you, here's my card. That's the way your networking should go. And if they need something that you don't do, you rack your brain for who does that would pay you for that referral. And then you start getting mailbox money. But regardless, no matter what, you have set yourself up to be helpful, beneficial, and you've just created a golden relationship instead of humping their leg. So stop humping legs, okay? Just stop that shit. All right. So that's and honestly, personally, I really don't like networking events. I am much more of an introvert than an extrovert. If you tell me I'm going to have to go into a room full of 1,000 people and tell them all what I do, I'm just going to want to go climb back in bed.
That's why I lead them. I lead them. So
Yeah. Networking events are not for me. I mean, like for instance, when I go to an event, I'm not out trying to talk to people. I pick a spot where I'm very visible and I plant myself. And anybody that wants to talk to me, they come to me. I mean, any of you that have ever seen me at an event, you're not seeing me humping legs. I'm generally perched at a table somewhere, and I've usually got several people around me all the time that are there that want to talk and stuff. That's the way I do it. Works very well for me. So, but in any case, I'm not there to sell anything. I'm just there to help. Like, what do you need? Instead of, "Here's what I do, what do you need?" Simple shift. And whether you do that or not, you should be able to make money off it. Because every day of your friggin' life, you should be going through life looking for those connections. The more of those you can stick in your tool belt, the more mailbox money you're going to have. So don't wait. Don't put that off. Start building that mailbox money now. It's not going to come fast. It's not going to come overnight. But the sooner you start building it, the sooner it will come. And once it starts coming, it's not going to stop. It'll be a whole new way of life. And if you do it right, there will come a time where you can just stop doing what you have to do now to make money, and that money will just come. And you won't have to do anything except what you want to do. That's freedom. That's that should be your goal. How do I get to that? How do I get enough mailbox money coming in that I don't have to do this day to day, whatever I'm doing, whatever I don't want to do, and I can go out and just do what I want to do? It should be your whole goal in life to get to that point. And you don't do that, you don't get to that point by not starting now. You don't say, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll think about that," or "I got to do a spreadsheet on that. I have to analyze that some more." No, you just need to start stacking those opportunities. Start asking people, hey, what do you need? What are you struggling with? Oh, I have a perfect solution for you. And if it's not you, that's even more credible. The fact that you're going to hook them up with somebody just to help them, that is the most credible thing you're ever going to do. And that person is probably going to send a lot of people your way. And if you like, your goal in business should be a connector. I don't care what product or service you offer, your main goal should be connections. Because if your main goal is connections, everyone literally that steps in front of you is mailbox money. That's a big difference between you having to weed through looking for a needle in a haystack for a customer. That's hard. But if everyone that gets in front of you is mailbox money, that's easy. That's easy. The hard part is just setting up all the relationships. But you should be doing that. You should be looking for every possible solution. Every time you see something, whether you need it or not, you catalog that. I'm going to talk to somebody in the next week that's going to need that, and that's mailbox money. That's what you should be thinking. Right? It's a simple shift. It's a very simple shift. And I guarantee it's going to make your life a whole lot better. It might be a year, it might be a decade, it might be 2 decades from now. But when that time comes, that effort you put forth today is going to pay off in spades. Guaranteed. All right. Anybody else got anything you want me to cover? And next week, let me look at the calendar. I got a lot of stuff coming up. Let me make sure. Next week, we should be regular time next week on the 19th. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, you're going to want to show up next week. I'm going to show you some really, really cool stuff next week that I'm working on. And it'll definitely be worth your while. It's going to blow your minds. So next week's going to be great. For any of you that are in our crypto membership, we're doing our crypto call today at 2 o'clock. That's 2 hours from now. And Teresa hopefully is going to be on there to share some cool info about taxes and that kind of thing. And none of it will be financial advice, but it'll be good stuff. So for any of you that are in on that, don't forget to pop back in and with us on that. All right. Anything else before we wrap up today?
I do have a quick question, John.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
You mentioned, and I apologize if you mentioned it today, but I was
No,
in and
no,
out.
no problem.
You mentioned last week that you were going to have an Optimancer sales training.
Yes, we're going to do that tomorrow. And the reason you haven't got the email yet is I just literally before I got on here, Chris responded back to me with his availability. So after this call, I'm going to shoot out a notification for that. So it
Great.
will be tomorrow afternoon. He's going to be on, so we'll be able to get
What time would that be?
get it right from the horse's mouth.
Terrific.
What time would that be, please?
Oh, let me see here.
Because I'm
It
traveling tomorrow.
it's going to be from 3 to 4 Pacific time tomorrow. And
And
if you can't be on, it's not a big deal. We will definitely record it.
oh,
Okay.
that would be good.
I'll have some questions. I'll email you because I won't be able to make that time.
Okay. Yeah, if you got
So,
questions, yeah, shoot them over to me and I'll make sure that we nail Chris down on all the answers. He has been
terrific.
so busy. It's been really tough for me to get through to him on a lot of different stuff. So I know I've got my list of questions, but the product itself, I think a lot of people are overcomplicating it. And a lot of people get in the nitty gritty. I mean, you guys go so deep in the weeds, it's frightening. This should be easy stuff. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. We created the widget. The only purpose of the widget is just to generate a lead, right? That's all its purpose is. And I get people going in there going, "Oh my God, I need to get my score up." I'm like, "No, that's not the purpose of that. The only purpose of that report is to show them they're not optimized for AI and that you offer a service that will do that for them. That's it. You do not need to hump their leg beyond that point. Right? Identify a
I'm
prospect.
sorry, that's funny.
That is it. Use that report to identify a prospect, sell them on your service. When you start the service after they've paid you, you should never look at that report again. That report is only for prospecting. So get them on board, get the payment. Now you start the service. The service starts with generating the report inside Optimancer, not the free hump your leg report out there. The report is called a progress report. You're giving them a baseline progress report for here's what's not done on your site. That's the progress report, starting point. That's your first thing you deliver to a paid customer. Next thing is you put their URL into the Optimancer and you let it do its thing. It's going to run all the stuff. It's going to stack all that shit up inside itself. Once it's done that, you go out to their website, you install the widget, and you hit the sync button. I mean, there's a couple other things you got to do, but ultimately, once you get it installed, you hit the sync button and it goes over to the server. It grabs all those files and it brings them down to the WordPress site and syncs it up. Boom, it is done. It's optimized. Got the LLM file, it's got the FAQ files, it's got all the all the schema codes. Done. One shot. Literally hit the sync button and it's over. Now you go back to Optimancer and you generate a new report, a new progress report, and that new progress report is going to show all that stuff's been done. Now you provide that as the value of the project is complete. Here's what you paid for, and it's a lot. When they look at that, they're going to go, "Oh my God, that was a bargain." Whatever they paid for it, it looks like you just provided a shitload of work. To the point where, and we built this in, I had Chris build this in the beginning, where if they've got 100 pages, you don't necessarily want to take their payment and 10 minutes later show them it's all done, right? They might get a little upset about paying you for 10 minutes worth of work. So you could literally go in and you could check off like half of the FAQs are done. Even though they're all done, the report will now spit out that 50% of them are done. After a week, you could send your client a progress report showing them, "Hey, we're 50% there. We're working on it. By the end of the month, we should have this project complete." Then you go back, check them all off, regenerate the report, get back to the client. "All right, that was a lot of work. We finally finished it. Here's your report. Here's the proof. It's all done." That is how you should be selling Optimancer. Stay out of the weeds. Stop humping legs. You'll make plenty of money. There's a shitload of people that will pay for that service, and you don't have to go into the weeds. There's a million other optimization things that you could do that the Optimancer report will show. That's not necessarily what you want to give your customers. Give them the progress report. The progress report just shows them what they paid for and that it is done. Now, and that's what I call the minimum viable product. That's the smash and grab I refer to. If you own a bigger agency and you offer other services, and that's not most of you guys here, by the way, but for some, we have some agencies that are big agencies. They serve thousands of customers and they have big teams and they offer a lot of other services. The Optimancer deep reports are reports that you can send to a dev team and have a dev team dive in, do a deep dive, go into the weeds and fix a bunch of that stuff. That is high level optimization. That's a lot of money. That's where Chris, he developed the whole program for that customer that paid him, I think, $62,000. $62,000 to optimize one website. And that's what he developed the program for, was to go in and identify all the stuff that needed to be fixed. And when I saw what he did, I'm like, dude, we can sell this. We need to readjust this for a minimum viable product and knock this thing on the market. That's where it came from. So it has the capability from a smash and grab to a deep dive in the weeds. But for those of you that are not weed eaters, stay out of the weeds. Right? I'm not a weed
Weed
eater.
is not your friend, man.
Oh man. All right. Shima, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Um, I'm doing a deep optimization using the optimizer with my dev team, but there was something we noticed. I just wanted to know if we're not sure if it's an issue with the tool or if it's from our end. The API readiness score and the rate limiting configured, right? Each time we try to work on it, the score doesn't improve.
Okay.
So
Are you talking about the front end, the widget?
no, not the widget. The when you use the tool, the analysis tool, right?
Uh-huh.
That is just our in-house. We're not doing for a client. It's just working on our own business
Okay.
website. Yeah.
Okay.
So just wanted to know if it's an issue because each time I run that report, the score keeps showing 15% and 30%. So
Okay. That's more of
both
a
for my own
that's more of
website
a
and for my
tech
client's
thing.
website.
Yeah, that's more of a tech thing. Bring that on to tomorrow's call where I'll have Chris on there and
Okay.
he can address that because I really can't answer like how the stuff's being generated, how the reports are being generated, but he can. And if there's issues, he can fix it too.
Okay.
So it's quite possible that there's still issues with the reporting.
Okay. The second question I have is the progress reporting, right?
Yeah, the
So
progress
if
reports, that's for the clients.
okay, so if we fix the FAQ, for instance, for the first month, going forward, how do we, what do we show? Because we have fixed it already, right?
Mhm.
So going forward, will the progress report show that something else is being done?
So the progress report really is just for the initial portion of it. On
Okay,
an ongoing basis, the product automatically syncs. So it's automatically going to check the site and make sure that nothing new has shown up and it's going to keep everything up to date. So
okay,
there's really not much for you to do. You're just charging the client a little bit per month just to monitor and update.
okay.
That
Because I have
and
a
that's
client,
that's again on the minimum viable product.
okay,
If you're offering higher level services, there's a number of things that you could do on an ongoing basis to get more money out of them.
okay,
But I wanted to make something that somebody that didn't really want to do a lot of work could create an income, an ongoing income on providing valuable services, and not charge people a fortune for them.
okay,
Like most people that are paying for SEO services on local business, they're paying at least 500 bucks a month. And they're not, in most cases, in fact, in no cases I've ever seen, are they getting the value out of that. So if you come in for like $97 a month and make sure that their site remains compliant to AI, that is a much higher value. They'll stick with that a long, long time versus paying 500 bucks a month for SEO services where you can't justify the means. They'll pay $100 a month a lot longer than they'll pay 500 a month. Especially when the idea of if they stop paying the $100 a month and you remove the widget and all of their AI goes out the window, that's high value.
Okay.
So so it's great.
So,
It's a great minimum viable product to get in and offer client services.
so what do you think about using Google Analytics to to measure traffic?
It's not accurate.
It's not correct. Okay.
Google Google Analytics, I don't know if you realize this, there was a product on the market called Urchin that was developed back in the late 90s, and it was the most phenomenal product ever released. I actually bought licenses for my servers and I ran it for all my customers, and it would give you everything. Give you every data point on every person that hit your web server. It would even tell you where they came from and what keyword they typed in to get there. It was unbelievable. The data that I was able to pull from Urchin software was incredible. Now, Urchin software was not on the market very long, and this little company called Google decided it was not a good product and bought it. And they
Hmm.
changed the name of it to Google Analytics, and they stripped every meaningful piece of data out of it so you couldn't get it. That's where Google Analytics came from.
Hmm.
And that really sucks, but that's the truth. So, yeah, they don't want you to have that data. Google does not want, Google wants you to have blinders on. So they're going to mislead you every inch of your journey. So I would not depend on them for anything. If you want real data, go to your server logs. The server logs will have every piece of data. It's just, almost impossible for you to interpret it. That's where Urchin was incredible. I know those guys. It was three guys in San Diego that developed that, and that's been long enough. I should reach out to them and see if they're willing to redevelop that.
I'll go in with you on that one.
That would be a phenomenal piece of software to bring out. I'll tell you what.
I'll help back that project, Russ.
Yeah, I could not believe, man, when Google killed that. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. This was like and the thing was, it was gone so fast, most people didn't even know it existed. But, oh well, that's what I get for being so entrenched in all this stuff all the way along the journey. Nothing got by me.
But John,
Yes.
Google Google did what major studios have been doing since the 1920s. If you have a competing script, they'll buy the script and shelve it.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's big business. Big business does that all the time. I know in the .com era when people were paying like ridiculous amounts of money for websites, I got commissioned to build a website called Craft Products. And it wasn't like craft the food, it was craft like arts and crafts. And I built a monster commerce site for craft products. And the day they were supposed to launch, the company got bought out by Michaels, Michaels Arts and Crafts. And basically, they got bought out just so they could kill it. They just did not want the site that I had built going live because they knew it would destroy them. They didn't have a commerce site up yet, and it was funny because they wouldn't use my site that I built, even though it was better than the one they had in development, because they had spent so much money on the one they had started developing. There was too much ego involved in it.
I think
So,
the same thing is happening with apps with all the vibe coding
oh yeah,
because I shared something in an AI group and like immediately they wanted me on this panel that they, and at first I was like, I was all excited, but they wanted me on this panel and they started really probing me and asking me more about how far I was with this, what made me come up with it, and blah blah blah. And like I said, I was excited at first, but now I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. And I think that that's what's happening is people that are coming now that you can vibe code and create apps really quick, and it's really a matter of how you're thinking, like what you're thinking. And because mine, I created because I was solving a problem
Yeah.
for a client. And, and then, like I said, they were, wanting to know a little bit too much where, yeah, I think there's companies that are buying out these apps not to let the little person, put it out.
Yeah. That's not a new concept. That has happened my entire
Mhm.
life. I'm sure it's happened long before I was around.
Well, that's why I'm on this call so I can get tuned, so I can get, I can learn.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of companies that bought things just to kill them.
That's where the red cars in Los Angeles went. The big red car electric line that ran over Los Angeles had one of the best transportation grids in the country. And oh my, Goodyear and
Yeah,
Signal Oil bought them because they were killing the gasoline and killing the tire business. And they ripped up all the tracks and sold off all the copper. And now LA has the traffic system it has now.
yeah. We have been literally ripped off of some great products by these big conglomerates because they don't want the competition. And they've got the money. Yeah, they've got the money to make the world go round.
Isn't that what the banks just did with crypto? We're going to talk about that on the call in an hour.
Yeah, they're trying. This one's too big though. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap this up for now. And like I said, you don't want to miss next week. I'm going to show you guys some really, really cool stuff I've been working on. And I should have it up to that point by then and blow your minds.
More info on tomorrow's call, John? What's tomorrow? And are we going to get an email or something? Or what's
Yes,
with
I'm
that?
gonna I'm gonna send an email out right now for tomorrow's invite for Optimancer. And then for those of you on crypto, 2 p.m. Pacific. So
Is that all ashore, Captain?
that's it. All ashore.
Happy St. Patrick's, everyone. Be safe, be well.
All
Happy
right. We'll talk to you guys next week or in an hour and a half.